Hello and welcome to my November retrospective. I'm going to look back on what I've achieved last month and what I'm going to look forward to next month. So, November, well, it started with BlizzCon and ended with a new raid and TSM4 beta being released. So quite a lot happened in November. Now from my perspective as a gold maker, there are two things that I worked on. First, I worked on my Garrison, and the second is I worked on learning cooking. Okay, so here's my Garrison, and there are certain things that I worked on in my Garrison to try and get my Hexweave production up and running. So I've got my level 3 town hall, which I already had, and then the next thing I did was add a follower to my tailoring emporium that had the tailoring specialism. In order to get that follower, Ingrid, I had to get my inn up to level 2 so that I could specify a follower of a certain type. So I worked on that, and I also set my herb garden to produce just Gorgon fly traps, so that by collecting those daily and setting off my work orders, I could get a decent supply of Hexweave that way. And with the fly trap and some sumptuous fur that I had previously bought, I was then able to use the daily spell and get the Hexweave production going that way. And the only thing I'm really missing now is getting Dorothy 2 to spawn in the town hall. So I keep checking back daily, and once she's spawned, then I can do the primal weaving, which will then give me some more Hexweave production. And it's working out really well so far. I've sold 5 Hexweave bags in November, whilst I was also getting this up to scratch, and that's given me a profit about 7,500 with those 5 bags. So once I've got production going even faster, I can see how I'm going to make a steady profit with Hexweave. And it doesn't take that long to just go through and collect your fly traps, collect your Hexweaves, and that's all you have to do for the Garrison. So one thing I've learned in November is was to upgrade my town hall and get my Garrison working, and it's worked out really well. Now the other thing that I've really worked on in November was getting my cooking skill from sort of basically 1 up to something where I can start making a profit. Now I found this guide, this mini guide, I'll share the link to it in the description, and this gave me a really nice rundown of things I needed to do to get my cooking up to scratch. Now I'd already done these quests mainly from just generally questing throughout Legion, and the ones I was missing next were these ones here. And so what I did was then I went through, and it really didn't take that long, less than half an hour, to go through and pick up all the missing recipes. And once I collected those, the other thing I've been doing is getting my work orders through Nomi. The other thing that was really useful was the add-on Nomi cakes, which allows me to look at all my ingredients that I've got in my bags and see what kind of work orders will turn into which kind of recipes. This has been really useful in finding out what I'm missing and where I can learn the next things and what ingredients I need. So I'd highly recommend getting Nomi cakes. The other thing I failed to get this time, and it was recommended to me repeatedly by my audience, was to get the chef's hat. And for this you need the Epicurean's Awards, which you get from doing the daily quests both in Stormwind, Ironforge, or the respective horde size, and the old Dalaran. So the other thing I've done in November is I've started the grind up to get 100 of those by doing the daily quests. Once I get the chef's hat, then my cooking speed will be a lot quicker. Now I've only really about halfway through my cooking so far. My skill's kind of like halfway there, and I've only got about half the recipes, but I've already been able to turn a profit. And I've sold things like 600 bear tartare for about 1,000 gold profit. I sold about 40 fighter chow for about 400 gold profit. So there's some decent money to be made by these. So I'm really looking forward to getting my cooking completed in December. But right now for November, it was definitely a good call to start this profession, seeing as it's a secondary profession and you can still have your two key professions alongside this one. The only thing is that you do end up filling your bags with all these different ingredients, so you do have to manage your space a little bit, but certainly I'd definitely recommend cooking for anyone. So what else did I learn in November? One key concept for gold making I learned was the concept of setting up a wall, and I think this is demonstrated aptly here just looking at these chaos crystals. Now someone has put 509 chaos crystals in single auctions up, so makes it really inconvenient for someone to come along and buy those. So what they're doing is they're setting up a wall to kind of like stop the price from shifting beyond that. So it's a really good way of kind of if you wanted to buy some and you set your wall there at, say, in this case 242 gold, then what you try and do is then anyone who's coming in and posting up, if they just automatically undercut, they're just going to go underneath this price, and then you can scoop up everything below the wall, and the wall prevents people from just buying out all of your cheap auctions and then putting them on more expensively, because it's a matter of time and convenience. I mean, it's a slightly risky strategy, but it's one that I've seen being used effectively, and I'll keep an eye on this market particularly for chaos crystals and see how this wall gets used and see how many we can pick up that go underneath 242 gold. So that was certainly an interesting concept I learnt. The other thing I learnt about in November was shopping operations. And now I've set up a number of ingredients here. So now what I've done is as a group, I can now just run a shopping scan and it will give me a list of all those ingredients I've put in my group, and then I can see which ones are a bargain and quickly just go through and buy those rather than having to go through all my favorite searches. So this has been really useful in having a list of potential things that I'm on the lookout for, and this is a really convenient way to set it up, so I definitely recommend having a look at that. Other little things I learnt in November was where the cancel all button was, which is quite useful. This was back in TSM 3, so that was handy when I had to get rid of all of my auctions in one go. The other thing I really learnt was the importance of listening to advice when it's given freely. If someone tells you to get the chef's hat, you really should get the chef's hat. So there's plenty of kind advice out there. All you need to do is listen to it and act on the things that are going to be useful to you. So, how did I do in November? Well, here you can see my gold chart for the last 30 days, and I started at just over 500,000 gold, and you can see this flat line here is where I had a 2-week break, and then my gold got up to 1 million by the end of the month. So we had a really good steady progress, even considering this time off. So how did that work out in terms of actual sales? Well, you can see here our profit was 382,000 over the last 30 days, which works out to about 12,000 a day. Now, that's considering that I had 2 weeks off. I think that's pretty amazing, and that's certainly enough to pay for a token every month. And with a whole month's worth of play, I'm definitely sure I could make more than that. Now the big sellers, well, the biggest seller was Binding of Mastery. We'll go into the details of those in a bit. And I made a little bit of money on the Garrisons, and my biggest purchases were Chaos Crystals, and my biggest amount of purchases were Shalder Eye Silk. This was all to feed the tailoring as my normal routine. Now, having a look at the actual sales, now these are the best sellers for November. So my enchants, I sold 50 Bindings of Mastery. Bindings of Haste came in close second with a 42, and Critical Strike came in at 36. Then we had a couple of necks come in, and then a couple of cloaks at 19 and 18, and then a few of the other ones. Now the ones that really didn't perform so well of the Legion, top Legion enchants, was Ancient Priestess, Heavy Hide, and it's not even on here, is Distant Army. Distant Army has been such a poor performer that I really wouldn't recommend. Of all the sort of top Legion enchants, that's probably not worth making. I've still got loads in my bag that I haven't been able to shift. And of course the tomes, occasionally you get a good profit on those, so those have all gone through. And here's a good one, the Enchant Weapon Mongoose. We actually sold one of those for 4,898. So Mongoose hype on that one. We were waiting for quite a while for that to come through. Took about 20 days, I think, from when I first put it on. And then we've got a few lesser enchants we've sold in just small quantities as well. Now looking at my purchases, obviously Chaos Crystals I bought plenty, but I got a good average buy price of 190. So it shows the importance of just looking, keep looking at the what you're after, and just buy the cheap ones when they come up. And if they're not cheap at the time, then just wait for them to come up cheaper later, and then snap them up then. And occasionally I've been able to find some Leylight and Arcana, but normally I've been getting that through Silk, which is why I haven't bought so many of those. Going on to my tailoring sales, I've got a few bits and pieces. Tuxedo jacket, rich purple silk shirt was a good one, sold a couple of those. 5 tuxedo pants. I mean, the profits on these aren't amazing. A mooncloth robe was quite a good one, but they have shown as sort of like a secondary income to the enchanting. And of course here's the silk, which I've been buying whenever I can. I bought 6,700, and for an average price of under 5 gold, which has meant my Leylight and Arcana have been really good prices for enchanting. Other things I've sold is some Defiled Augment runes. Occasionally when I do a dungeon run, I'll pick up one of those. I don't use them myself, so I've thrown them on the market. And I did have a couple of pets that were kicking around in my bags. Now one of these I sold by mistake for about 19 gold, but I managed to offset that with the other one, which I sold for about 6,000 gold. To be honest, I'll just be glad to get rid of those. Other things, we've got the cooking here. Now this is kind of still in flux at the moment because I'm still learning cooking, so I'm quite happy just to make skills up on these, so I'm not too concerned with the profit. But it's been really nice that I've been able to turn a profit already, even with the limited recipes I've got. Now, Bear Tartars sold really well. I've sold 600 of those. And Fighter Chow, Asharish Salad, and then the Hungry Magister, we've sold quite a few of those recently, and there's some good profit on those as well. So these have all been really good performers so far, and I think with the raid coming out, I'm going to think we're going to start to see over the next few weeks just an increase on sales of those. Now obviously I've been buying a lot of ingredients as well, so mainly this is just to test out what I can make and what's a profit, and all the things I need to throw into work orders for Nomi's Kitchen. So overall I think cooking's probably not been that profitable because I've had to buy all of these, but saying that, it's got me started and I'm sure I'm going to make a profit over time. Now this list, this is all of Gumdrop's stuff from his bank that he kindly lent me. I can't sort of talk about gold making without mentioning the fact that he very kindly gave this to me, and so this represents a good few thousand sales of lots of different pieces over the last 30 days. So it just goes to show that, you know, you can even sort of like the odds, sort of like old world bits and pieces, the odd transmog crafted things here and there, you can still make a decent amount of sales. So that's a quick rundown of everything I've gotten up to in November. We also hit some milestones this month with YouTube. We got 10,000 views and hit 166 subscribers, so a big thank you to everyone for all your support, really appreciate that. On Twitch I've gained about 20 followers, we're up to about 230. I get about an average 9 people coming in to pop in on the chat, so really appreciate you guys coming and stopping by whilst I play WoW and learn a bit of gold making in the process. So looking ahead to next month in December, my next target is going to hit 1.5 million gold. so I can buy 5 tokens because my subscription runs out at the end of December. So with another 1.5 million and 5 tokens, I can then, what with the balance I've already got on my Battle.net, I'll be able to buy 6 months in one go. As a bonus objective, if I manage to get another 300,000, then I'll buy my son another month's subscription. And other things is to get Nomi recipes. I'd like to collect all of those through the work orders. Hopefully I'll get all those done in December. The Garrison, it would be really nice to find Dorothy too, and so I can complete the primal weaving side of things. And then beyond that, well, who knows? So thank you all for your support and stopping by with all your comments and follows. I really appreciate it. So till next time, happy enchanting, happy professions, happy playing of WoW, and take care and have fun.